Here. Hey guys, hopping on. I know it is scary times, and I am, understanding the anxiety. I'm getting a lot of questions. We're having people reach out to the practice, trying to get copies of my protocols for clients. So I thought what might be good is I wanted to do a video, and I've got my laptop behind here as I try to get things loaded, because as a healer and a worker in this health space, I'm getting a lot of trainings from people who are in natural health and are wanting us to try to disperse this information so that everyone's not feeling totally overwhelmed and without some sort of direction on what to do. Okay, so, but I know it's a tenuous time. Everything's selling out everywhere. Everyone's disinfecting everything. And I understand how we got here and why everyone's so concerned. So I thought I would kind of share some of the things from the thought leaders that I am trained by and taught by, so that I could get some reliable information out there. And that way you can go ahead and share that with the people that you love as well. And I promise I disinfected my hands before I touched my face. So here's what our situation is. It's who is immune compromised, okay? So that's one piece of it. But then also, who is this particular virus seemingly gravitating towards? So the person I'm going to reference, who is a huge thought leader in the natural health space, whose training I sat through recently, just this week, is Dr. Klinghardt, okay? So he is always 5 to 10 years ahead of what everyone is saying. People always think he's crazy. He's an MD, he's a PhD, he's a thought leader. He is in his 70s, and he is always right. That's the deal with him. So if you have any opportunity to ever listen to anything that he teaches about, he's a thought leader in the stealth infection community. And because I deal a lot with Lyme disease, and a lot of my clients are actually low white blood cell count clients and immune compromised, and I have my own immune system issues that I've dealt with over the last year, I am paying a lot of attention to what's going on, and he is the person I trust, and he is in Washington, and they got hit kind of hard there, and the hospitals are having a harder time. So there's lots of opinions on how to navigate this. So I'm quoting a training from him, as well as I'm quoting a training from another thought leader that's in the organization that I'm in, ICI, who has sent out a bunch of information around, like, what do we need to be telling people and what supplements do we actually need to be putting people on. So who is immune compromised, and who is this virus really going after? From Klinghardt's research, what he's seeing and looking around and being connected around the world, we're looking at 80% of those infected are men, right? So 80% are men, 20% are women, and most of the ones who are actually at risk when we start to look at mortality are seniors. This does not seem to be something that's going to threaten the livelihood, like the health of someone who is younger. Yes, you can get sick, but when we start talking about will you lose your life to this virus, we're looking at people who are more compromised, okay? And that's because typically our elderly, our seniors, are going to have more immune system compromise, and it takes longer to recover from that when you're older, all right? So now, just because you're older, I know everybody's been talking about the Hanks, right? And they're in their 60s, just because Tom Hanks and his wife are currently infected, does that mean that, they're not going to make it or something like that? That's not the case. Who knows what their immune system looked like beforehand? So then we have to start having these conversations about, well, what does immune compromise even look like? Because that's the second piece. Now, before I get to that, what I think is really interesting, and Dr. Klinghardt was adamant about, he really is having a hard time, and now you have to keep in mind, he's a very strong-minded individual who's on the fringe. He doesn't like the idea that the schools are closing, because in all of the impact here, the kids have not been the ones who have really been impacted by the coronavirus. So they're not really at risk. Are they carriers? Quite possibly, but are their immune systems succumbing to this? That's not what his research is showing, and that's not what anyone's research is showing. Ben Lynch is busy on his Instagram, if you want to go over there, kind of going off. He's pulling research papers daily about how this is really something that's going to dramatically impact older individuals with immune system compromise. Okay, so I have a low white blood cell count because of my autoimmune issues. My clients have low blood cell counts. That's what you're looking at. Right now, you want to look at, do I typically have a problem with my white blood cells? Is my immune system compromised currently? Because now that makes me a little bit more at risk. I need to do all the things that somebody says to do to prevent getting yet another infection and compromising my immune system and having another thing to kind of fight against. That's what you're looking at. The list coming from the Carpathia Collaborative. This is the COVID-19 protocol here coming out of them. Who is at risk? So let me just say what they've stated here. Persons with compromised cell membranes, especially in lungs, gut, and cardiovascular system are more susceptible to severe consequences of virus infection. How do you know your cell membranes are compromised or damaged? If you have any of the following conditions, they involve impaired or damaged cell membranes, which may increase susceptibility to the virus. Okay, so if you tend to get sick, some of this is common sense, right? Get sick more often and stay sick longer than the average person, there's probably something going on that you haven't looked at. Cancer, right? Biotoxin illness. I have a lot of clients in my practice that struggle with mold, Lyme co-infections, heavy metals, and chronic viral infections. So you're looking at Epstein-Barr, things like that. Fibromyalgia, all right? Autoimmune diseases, neurodegenerative disease. So that's ALS, it's Parkinson's, those type of, you know that you're already compromised in that situation. Respiratory diseases, COPD, asthma, bronchitis, sinusitis, okay? Because what we're looking at is compromised cell membranes. Does this mean you're going to get sick? No, this means that you need to do some of the extra stuff, okay? Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity. So now, is obesity by itself a risk factor? Just means that you could be more likely to have compromised cell membranes because of the inflammatory response in the body due to being obese, okay? Because that's a big, broad category, and I know how that sounds. The other one that I think is really interesting, and if you've worked with me for a while, and if you look on my page over the last week, is leaky gut. A lot of people have leaky gut. And so she goes on to talk about, or the Institute goes on to talk about dysbiosis, SIBO, IBS. We're getting really broad here, right? But if you tend to have a lot of gastrointestinal distress, that's a vulnerability. That's why I put together the list that I did, because I was trying to kind of broadly address some of these different things. My own 2 cents here is that we know that viruses tend to be very problematic for the liver. And one of the research articles that Ben Lynch is really leaning heavily into, especially for older adults, is the glutathione piece. And I use a lot of glutathione in my practice because so many of my clients have poor detoxification. So I'm really concerned about the liver detoxification piece of this and just really supporting your liver. Just to be kind of, lighter about this. This is not a time with everybody being at home to drink a lot, okay? This is not a time to not be nice to your liver. This is a time to pull back on the alcohol, pull back on the higher inflammatory foods that are very high in sugar, those types of things. I know with having kind of cabin fever, we're going to tend to want to do things that are comforting food-wise, but from an immune system perspective, that's actually quite counterintuitive. So this is the time to do some of the things that I had mentioned. Now, let me go to some of the notes I took from Dr. Klinghardt, because he's pretty clear about what he thinks makes sense and what doesn't. And a lot of things are selling out. A lot of the liposomal vitamin C, which is absolutely something. Intravenous vitamin C actually makes sense right now for people with compromised immune systems. So the liposomal vitamin C is pretty much sold out all over the place. And that's my preferred method of getting it in because it crosses those cell membranes that we were just talking about. But at this point, whatever vitamin C you can get your hands on is going to be really important. His biggest 3 protocols for prevention come down to really stocking up on vitamin C. He's looking at least 2,000 a day, and he's bowel tolerance. That means you take as much vitamin C as you can until you get diarrhea. That's the idea. Because you pass vitamin C out through the body. It's a water-soluble vitamin every 24 hours. So you can't really go too crazy or make yourself toxic with the vitamin C. And if you know you're immune compromised, I'm telling people easily you can take up to 5,000. So you have got to get your vitamin D3, K2 levels up. I do not recommend people just doing vitamin D3 by itself. I like vitamin D3 to show up with K2. You end up pulling too much calcium out into the bloodstream, and I have all kinds of feelings and thoughts about that. So your D3 needs to be paired with K2. If you know that your vitamin D levels were low going into cold and flu season anyway, you need to be leaning into that pretty hard. If you were prescribed vitamin D3 at some point, pull out that prescription, go get yourself some vitamin D3 and K2. That's going to help your immune system. It's not that does anything specifically. These things will just support your immune system. Now, the third thing that he likes to recommend, and this is something that's very novel because of him, and I did not put this on my page because I know it's hard to get your hands on right now. I'm literally waiting for mine to show up, is HOCl. So HOCl is something that you can use that kills everything, but it doesn't kill friendlies, okay? So that means it's an anti-everything, but it preserves all healthy materials and tissue. You can use it on your face. You can use it in your eyes. You can put it in your sinuses. You can spray it into your mouth. You can spray it on your body, and you can then clean surfaces with it. The problem with this virus is that it can only be shared, right, in droplets and things like that. So when people sneeze and cough, you have to cover your mouth and face. If you do have it, you need to wear a mask so that you're not sharing it. Hugging and kissing people, like we're going to have to, shaking hands, you're going to have to be really mindful of that. But it stays on surfaces for days, up to 8 days. So let's say you came in contact with it and it's on your clothes, and then later you go and touch it and then you touch your face. It's very easy to get yourself sick. Okay, so that's our problem, is that it lives on surfaces, and you can't put Lysol on your clothes. You can put it on surfaces, right? If that's what we're using, maybe we're hopefully not using Lysol, but whatever it is you're going to use, because who cares right now? I understand that. You can't put that on your clothes. And so what he's saying is that the HOCl, and he's used it for forever, and that's why I say he's always ahead, can be used on everything, and it won't damage materials, and it will not hurt you or make you sick. So the company that he likes to recommend is Biotech. I do think it's on Amazon. I just know that ordering from them directly, that I think they were back ordered or sold out like 3 or 4 days ago. But that would be kind of a pro tip for you, is to hop on there. It's HOCl, and it's by the company Biotech. I think it's Biotech and not Bryotech. If you can't find it by bio, put a BRIO in and see what shows up. But so you need to be doing that as frequently as you can. He recommends diffusing it even. So other things that I have recommended, once you get exposed, you've got about 24 hours before it solidly infects you, okay? And I'll talk about like what the stages are, but before it solidly infects you. This is the flu or cold. You had a 24-hour window typically before your immune system turned. And it's that 24 to 48-hour window where you lost control and you became infected. So that is why it is super important to wash your hands. Absolutely, yes. But nasal spray, sinus irrigation. If you don't like, because I don't like the neti pot. I don't usually tell everybody that, but I really don't like it. I got this whole thing with like water and swimming and all this other stuff. So I do feel like I'm drowning when I use the neti pot. But I use a lot of saline spray, right? Because that will clean out the sinuses. You need to do that a couple of times a day, because guess what? If you picked up something during that day and you weren't like severely immune compromised, if you knock it out in the afternoon, you're going to flush that out. So you don't have to worry about like, okay, what did I get today or what's going on with me? If you're cleaning and you're flushing constantly, gargle, get that salt water and gargle and try to get that those cell membranes, those mucosal passages cleaned out in the throat. So you need to be flushing the sinuses. You need to be cleaning out the throat constantly and then like he's saying, cleaning your skin too, because you can get in through your eyes and there's other places. But if you're doing that, you increase the likelihood that you'll navigate through this and not actually pick something up. So that was one of the things that I put on the list. The list is on, a rough list is on Facebook because I'm actually looking there. I even set it to gargle there and to clean out the sinuses. I said the vitamin D3 and the K2. Every kind of elderberry is not good. If it's full of sugar, you're not getting as much of what you're supposed to be. You're not getting as much elderberry as you're supposed to. Real elderberry doesn't taste like blueberries or raspberries. It's got kind of a funny, it's an off kind of taste to it. So make sure, just get some elderberry tea in the kind of wellness kit that I put together in my store. I have one that's in there. That's a good one that you could just brew elderberry tea and drink that a couple times a day. Tea irrigates the throat as well. So, that's a fun way to keep the throat cleaned out. I am recommending NAC, okay, and glutathione. Those are the two options for supporting the liver, because viruses do like to attack the liver. And you need to make sure your body's detoxing properly to be healthy. Support the gut lining. You heard in my list of what makes you vulnerable. Leaky gut's an issue. I need aloe vera for that, to support everything that aloe vera touches. All of those mucosal passages are healed, right? So it's very healing. So drinking aloe vera, good clean aloe vera on a daily basis. I like George's aloe vera. It is on Amazon. It is not in the store, guys. Those of you who have bought the kit online, I don't have access, but George's aloe vera is really good. Drinking that for the gut lining is helpful. If you tend to have allergies, you probably have leaky gut. So that's my dead giveaway. If you tend to have allergies, I'm really thinking you have a leaky gut situation going on if you're coming into my practice. So I would recommend the aloe vera or the bone broth, as long as you don't have a histamine response. I have a lovely histamine response, so I can't do bone broth comfortably, but I can do the aloe vera. And then I've talked about the liposomal vitamin C is going to be pretty much impossible to get your hands on at this point. So just take a bunch of vitamin C and then sweat. Those of you I have convinced to buy a sauna, like a little, I say dinky. I got the $800 kind of dinky sauna that I've told people to get. And I know that's not it sound inexpensive, but saunas can be super expensive. And I have a really high quality one that I recommend people to use. There's a Therasage sauna. My elderly clients are being told that they can't go to the gyms, right? So, and some of my clients that I'm working with have saunas. And so one of the things I want them to do is use the sauna to help them detox their systems, okay? If you can't exercise as much as you're supposed to, and you have access to a sauna, which isn't as crazy if you're one of my clients, I want you getting into that sauna multiple times a day, because the reason we get a fever is because that's the body's intuition to try to fight out something. So using fever therapy is really smart. And that is what infrared sauna is. I will take any sauna in this moment, but I just don't think everybody's going to be getting in public saunas right now, right? So if you have one, this is a good time to use it. At home, if you have anything that you can sweat on, I'm getting like 25 million text messages right now, so I hope that that's not buzzing. But if you have any sort of exercise equipment that you can hop on, treadmills, elliptical machines, put on a sweatshirt, give me 20 minutes of sweating. One of the detox channels that your body uses is the skin. So if you think you are sick, I still want you to sweat. Now, let me explain that. You have a lymphatic system, and it looks like a body stocking around your body. It runs from the ankles all the way from the wrist. It runs the whole body. That is the way your body protects you from infection. But the problem with the lymphatic system is it does not have a way to move the lymphatics. So you will end up with this sluggishness and this inflammation when you tend to get sick. So if you can pump your body, you can pump the lymphatic system and move that toxic stuff into the lymph nodes so that your body can work on it and know what it's up against. So that is why I do not like it when people get sick and they tell me that I was sick so then I didn't exercise. I think though that's not exactly how you have to do things. If you have a cold, I need you to move. I don't need you to kill yourself in a workout. I just need you to sweat and move your body. Okay, so those are my recommendations. Everything I've said is pretty much online. The wellness kit that I told you about is available if you email Denise at frlwithtiffany.com. Here's what Dr. Klinghardt said about what you're going to potentially experience if you get sick. The first phase is kind of like a malaise, and it's the normal kind of flu and cold type of experience. And you're going to feel feverish or chills, those types of things. And if that's it, if you just get to that and you never get the dry cough, you're okay. Your immune system now knows what the coronavirus looks like and it is informed, right? So not actually a bad thing. And if you do some of the things that we talked about, you've now tagged this and there's an awareness and there's an intelligence to your immune system. Like, this is not like the apocalypse. Okay, we are going to be okay. The problem is those of us who do have low white blood cell counts or we have some sort of immune compromise, your system's already distracted. And so if you get past that phase and you get to the dry cough, now we have the respiratory infection problem. Okay. He is very concerned about you getting to the place where you have the dry cough because that's when we start talking about pneumonia. So you need to take this time as an opportunity. I've been hashtagging Crave Detox for a very long time now. I want you to detox your cravings at this time. I want you to want to be better and align yourself with your immune system. It needs your help. Right? It's up against something it's unfamiliar with. And it's not that we need a vaccination. We just need to be able to navigate what to do in situations like this. And this is where you take good care of yourself. So we don't want to get to stage 2 where it becomes something that's a problem for the lungs. And now we're talking about pneumonia and what do we do with situations like that and try to navigate that. We're going to prevent. So yes, wash your hands, wipe all the surfaces down, go back if you hopped on later and listen to this video. At some point when I find some energy, I will send out an email and this will be on the email as well. Do all those things for prevention. And I will post this. And if you have any questions, just put the questions under here. Again, the resources that I was referring to were Dr. Klinghardt of the Sophia Institute. And Margaret Christensen is, she's just a badass from the Carpathia Collaborative, very smart woman and very savvy in the mycotoxin illness world. And just, you have so many just bright people out there really trying to help us. She's the one who put out this protocol too about what is immune susceptibility and the cell membrane threat. And that's who I was referring to. So some really people much smarter than me that I have the privilege to learn from. And I wanted to hop on and share because I know that everyone's hearing things and the media is sharing things and it's scary. And I think we have more power than we realize, as usual. I will stop talking. You guys take care of yourselves and be well.